Hi. As I try and make up the numbers to 52 so that I can qualify the end of year podcast, I've been forced to watch some movies that I would rather have avoided. And one of these that I discovered on Netflix is The Hustle. It's a very, very close remake of 1988's Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which is in itself a remake of 1964's Bedtime Story. The story is about two con artists, one an urbane English sophisticate, the other a more brash, streetwise American, um, who compete to be the top dog at a French Riviera resort town in terms of fleecing the wealthy and gullible. In the 87 version, the two leads were Michael Caine and Steve Martin. In the 64 version, David Niven and Marlon Brando. In this version, it's Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson, with Wilson's character retooled to be Australian. The problem is this. Firstly, it's pretty much the exact same script, to the point where even the jokes are being reused from the original film, from the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels version. Secondly, it really demonstrates how unfunny Rebel Wilson is when you're getting her to perform jokes that were ad-libbed so brilliantly by Steve Martin. She looks so uncomfortable and so stilted delivering scripted jokes. It's agony to watch. Hathaway is a really odd choice because she's not a natural comedian. She's putting on a very false-sounding English accent, which is apparently deliberate to make it seem like her character has these other levels of deception, that she's putting on a false accent as well. But it just sounds odd. It just sounds unnecessary, and there's no real reason why her character couldn't have been American in the first place. The logic behind the film is that it could be a feminist, empowering version of the story, because the original film has men fleecing women. However, and I'm sorry for spoiling this, the twist at the end of the original film is that the woman they've picked on to be their mark is in fact a famous con artist who winds up fleecing both of them. So the woman comes out on top at the end of the story, and she then recruits Caine and Martin to be part of her next scheme to fleece a group of wealthy property developers. So they are now happily working for a woman, and that's the end of the original film. But this version thinks, no, it's bad and sexist because he's fleecing rich women. But they haven't actually seemingly watched more than the first half hour of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. So here you have two women fleecing a man, but then the logical endpoint is that he winds up fleecing them, so the man comes out on top in what is supposed to be a feminist version of the same story. So it means that no one actually understood the original film, and it's not that complicated. This isn't Ulysses, this isn't War and Peace, it's a 90-minute con artist comedy. And yet it seems to be too complicated for the makers of this remake, written by Jack Schaefer and directed by Chris Addison, to actually cope with. So you have a story that doesn't make any sense with regard to what they want to do, a script that just reuses material wholesale from the original film and puts it in the hands of inferior performers. Anne Hathaway is a great actor. She is not a comic performer by any means based on this. And Rebel Wilson, I have no idea how she keeps getting work. She is exactly the same in everything, with the exception of Jojo Rabbit, in which her role is minimised. It's limply directed, the tone feels off, everything is smoothed over into what the filmmakers think the audience want, but it just winds up looking like inferior mush. It's a really depressing experience because it's so badly thought out. It understands so little about why the material works, and it's trying to refashion it for a new audience, and in the process completely loses any sense of coherence. It's an exploitation movie, I feel, because it's trying to aim itself at a female audience who wants to see a well-written, sophisticated comedy, but it's just mangling the material so badly in trying to appeal to this demographic that you wind up with a load of garbage. It's one of the worst films I've seen this year, and it's offensive on multiple levels. It's absolutely awful.